Malacath is considered to be one of the 7 gods of divine. He was slain by his brother Kaiden after courting with Yara. He did this to spite his younger brother, whom he once looked at so fondly. Despite him being older, Malacath always looked up to Kaiden and aspired to be great for him. Before the creation of Min, of Ain, of the entire universe, there were the gods. These gods deemed it necessary that there be life, so they created worlds that would span the blank canvas of time. Universes that were like pockets of time were created to hold the worlds that these cosmic beings created. Like artists of the universe, they created these worlds for the passion to create. When it was time given by the One, they built thousands, millions of these mini creations known as worlds, and they would house them in different universes. These universes differ from every other. However, there are those who share a likeness to each other, thus making it possible to connect to this planet and even the universe. This concept, if linking with other worlds and traversing to them, would simply be called teleportation. Amongst the One, there were 7 known gods. Each of these gods were known as Malacath, Roroka, Kaiden, Yara, Ashul, Aolin, and Allura. And each of these gods were tasked with given the gift of life and creation. With no concept of such, each gods began to create their world in their image. One by one, each first world was given revelation, and each one was unique to their creator. However, these worlds would lack something fundamental that slipped through the psyche of these immortals, save for 2 gods, that being Yara and Kaiden. Like their brethren, the 2 lover gods created their worlds from watching others. However, they would not make the same follies they noticed with their older siblings' creations. The meaning of life looked different for them, and they saw this. With that in mind, they created the world with the combination of other ideas to form something that was otherwise inhabitable. Earning the respect of their siblings, the other 6 gods would begin to confide in the pair and aid them with finishing their world below. Together they would create the beautiful planet called Ain and its inhabitants. However, not everyone would respect the 2 for their feat. Malacath, the eldest of the 7, would not condemn the 2 for their victorious completion of life. Where he had failed, he would not take their treachery of defeating him first lightly. Not only was he jealous of the 2's accomplishment, but found the 2 to be bothersome to him, especially Yara, whom he saw to be in his way, especially when it came to his younger brother, Kaiden. Out of the 7, Malacath got along with Kaiden most of all. He saw Kaiden as someone who was quite different from the others. He had ideas and passion, all reflected by the way he'd talk with Malacath and behave around him. It was like watching something so confusing yet fascinating at the same time. He couldn't explain it, but he cared deeply for his brother. When Yara became closer to Kaiden, Malacath withdrew himself from Kaiden. He felt as though he had been pushed and replaced with Yara. Though the gods are not known to pair with each other in any other thing, Kaiden and Yara was different. Malacath didn't see what made her so special over him. How she would whisk Kaiden away from him, and with such ease, leaving him to his loneliness of indifference again. The fact that the 2 seemed successful was something he could not stand, would not stand, so he began to plan. One day, he would begin to approach Yara and from there, court with her. It was becoming known to Malacath as to why Kaiden saw Yara the way he did. How different she was. Perhaps there was something there for one. Despite his evident falling for the goddess, Malacath would go on to betray both Yara and Kaiden by mating with Yara. He had violated her the only way a god can. Much like how gods are not known to pair with one another, they also do not copulate with one another. This isn't to say that it isn't possible, however. Malacath, with no concept of creation, would go on to do the unthinkable, and in return had created life in a new way that was otherwise impossible. Perhaps it is because to do so would break an unspeakable rule upon the gods that was never to be crossed, for dire consequences awaited them. This unspeakable marring of one's image was considered a ban to a god, and Malacath would dare. Stricken with rage, Kaiden struck Malacath, prompting the 2 in a heated combat. Though a god can damage another god, one cannot kill the other. The battle between the 2 brother gods was powerful and lasted for 3 days long. Words of hate was thrown at each other as swords clashed and wings collided. The struggle of the battle seemed one-sided, as the eldest of the gods would best his brother in combat but came to sheer strength and endurance. However, the admissible rage of Kaiden was what won him the battle. In a final blow of seething rage and hatred, Kaiden rose up above Kaiden and crashed his sword down on the eldest. The force of the blow came slicing down on Malacath and brought him to his knees. Gravely wounded, with a gaping wound that stretched from his right shoulder and down diagonally across his chest, he slumped down. The gash gushes spurts of molten gold and drizzles over his laxed body. Gods do not breathe, but Malacath could be seen giving out a heave before he towers over, falling through the thick mists below and crashing into the newly created Ayn displayed below.